We have here the Philm Lawyers team, and our podcast for today, we're gonna discuss about the probate in both the U.S. and the Philippines. So, for those who may not be familiar with the term, what exactly is probate, and why is it important, especially for Filipino Americans with assets in both countries? Let's dig deeper to understand what is probate in the US and in the Philippines. Attorney Ed?
All right, so I am licensed in the state of California, the United States, so I will generally limit my comments to California law, but you can generally apply it to American law because although it's not the same in every state, but there's general overlap. Um, when I try to answer this question, first of all, this question is complicated in the sense that it deals with a lot of things. But it's essentially a situation where the person that passed away had things to be settled, had assets, had possessions. And these assets need to be transferred or distributed to the correct people or entities, right? And so it's a way of administering your estate, your assets, so that they are ultimately and finally settled, right? There are ways to do it privately, and then there are ways to do it publicly. Probate deals with the public administration of your assets. So, yes, a judge is involved, laws are involved, a court is involved, um, people are involved, generally speaking, but it's a formal way of transferring your assets. And I think ultimately, during this podcast, we'll comment on what's ideal, what's recommended, and statistically, what ends up happening most of the time.
Just to add a little bit to Attorney Ed's comment is that realistically, when someone passes away, they can't continue to own assets in their name. They can't continue to hold it in their name. So it has to be transferred. And typically it's transferred to their loved ones. So, and I'm sure we'll talk about this more detail, but if you have a document that you prepared and you specify where you want it to go, then the courts will typically follow the instructions, right? But again, another way would would be create what's called a trust, in which case it doesn't have to go through probate. But we'll go into more detail on that. But yes, probate is a necessary evil. If you own assets and you pass away, it has to be transferred.
In the Philippine perspective, Sheila, um, when we say probate, and not it does not necessarily mean the same thing as what Attorney Ed and Dr. Ray mentioned. Because when we talk about probate, we normally relate that to the execution of a will, putting that before the courts for the courts to determine certain things pertaining to the will. But in the context of the legal administration of the estate, it also pertains technically to the same process where at the end of the day we really want to give effect to the person's estate after their death. And again, in many Filipino families, even Filipino American families, believe that having a will automatically settles everything. But in reality, whether there is a will or not, there are still a lot of legal requirements that must be complied with. And again, this is not a one size fits all type of situation because every estate is unique, and therefore um, there are more complexities in the applicable process that affect several factors in their estate administration. So it's very important that before they do any decisions pertaining to their inheritance, it's always best to determine what proper legal process or what proper recourse should be made that applies to their family's situation.
Okay, just to clarify, Attorney Yun, the probate in the Philippines, it's just really proving the will. Is that correct?
Yes, pertaining to that word, the probate, we normally call it estate settlement here in the Philippines.
Got it. Okay, thank you for that, Attorney Yun. And for the attorneys, yes, Dr. Ray.
I just wanted to add. So in California, whenever we say probate, it is the entire process. In other words,
Yes.
not only to prove a will, but also to administer the estate. That is a whole process. Whereas I know in the Philippines, it is just proving the will, and then a second phase is to do the administration. So that's where the a lot of people get confused because when we say probate for U.S. attorneys, we mean probate from A to Z to the distribution. Whereas Philippines probate is just proving the will, and then the next phase is the administration. I just want to because
Right.
a lot of people got confused whenever we mentioned probate.
That's true. And I
That's
want
a
to take
good
it home.
point.
I want to take it home by talking about the World Cup Spanish because Spain won, right?
Oh yes,
Um,
Wow. Yeah.
probate comes from the word probar,
yes,
Probar, which is to prove, right? Let's
mm,
prove. So it's all connected and much
That was a
congratulations
Spanish. That was a
to,
Spanish term.
to Spain
yes,
for
yes.
winning the World Cup.
Ah,
Okay,
congrats,
that's a
Spain.
good point because mostly I believe our clients they mistakenly use the word probate interchangeably when it comes to the US law and the Philippine law.